Hey everybody, I am gonna be making a bone broth today. I just so it happens that I have a whole bunch of leftovers of a chicken. I like to buy a whole chicken and then I roast it and we share it. My dogs love chicken too, so we basically kind of share it. I put in my salads and they get a little bit in their food. I have two picky eaters, so this is super helpful. So a really good tip is do not throw away your bones. Keep your bones, and even if you're buying just pieces of chicken, put that in the freezer. Start collecting, be a bone collector, if you will, in your freezer. And then when you get enough of them, that's when you can start making a bone broth. So this really just, it's super simple. I was even wondering whether I should be doing this video, but so many people have requested for it, so I thought I might as well do it. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna transfer all the bones over to the container. And if you don't have an Instapot, I highly encourage you to get one because it really is quite transformative piece of equipment that's gonna save you a ton of time and inspire you to create some new recipes too. So if you can get your hands on things like chicken feet, let me tell you, after, someone who has grown up in Asia, the most flavorful chicken broth you would ever taste, that's most refined, that's smoother, yeah, it was the most smooth, whatever is the right word, is gonna be from chicken feet. So, and it's gonna be so rich with collagen as well. This is gonna be pretty good too. But it's, and so you definitely wanna have, all the little bones, you want all the connective tissue, all of that goes into the pot, okay? Now, because I'm sharing I am putting a little bit of the bone broth into my dog's food. I know. I'm not gonna put onions in there because animals can't do onions and garlic. So but theoretically, you can basically chop it up, use a whole onion or half an onion, and put that in. In order to get the full benefit of quercetin, which is one of the compounds you definitely want right now, which is gonna help with your immune system and bring the inflammation down, is gonna be in the purple onions, okay? And the other thing is that make sure that you're using the full onion, including the skin, because a lot of quercetin is actually stored in the skin of the onion. And anyway, you're not gonna be consuming that, right? Because you're gonna be straining it and throwing it all away. So I'm gonna put the onion away since I'm not using it, but you should, and I highly advise you to do that. The other thing is, for taste, I definitely love to use some bay leaves. I have some bay leaves that I brought from Sicily. So I'm gonna throw that in. Peppercorns, a really nice addition. Pepper is highly anti-inflammatory, but also anti-carcinogenic. So whenever I can, I always put some in as well. I'm using about 10 peppercorns in here. You don't wanna put too many of them because they are really quite strong. The other thing is, I'm gonna use, oh dear, I forgot. I'm so sorry, would you mind grabbing for me the pestle and mortar? It's right there on the counter. I'm gonna be using some ginger in here. So ginger is, again, hugely anti-inflammatory. Thank you so much, Cheryl. It's highly inflammatory, but it's also gonna add a little bit more fire to our bone broth. And that's exactly what we want during the pandemic. It's gonna warm up your digestion. And that's, by warming up, let me actually talk about that because this is really important. In traditional Chinese medicine, it's one of the principles is you want to warm up your digestion in order to stimulate all the digestive juices instead of cooling it down. So when you're making a smoothie, it's much better not to be putting the ice in there because you're just shutting down your digestion. And when you shut things down, you're closing things up. You're not absorbing the goodness of the nutrients that you're putting in your body. The same way, if you think about it, like for example in Asia, a lot of the time before having a meal, they drink a hot soup, right? It's like a clear soup. And the reason is that because you're preparing the digestion, you're opening up, you're warming it up to receiving food and getting the maximum nutrition out of that food. And so ginger is naturally going to warm up your digestion in a big way. And I love drinking that bone broth before a meal or with a meal as well. And so having that ginger additional element brought into it is going to be super beneficial. So I'm just going to crack it. How much you use, again, is really up to you. I'm using, you saw what I had. I had like, 3 times more of this plus this, so it's probably like a good 4 inches of a fresh ginger. And by the way, dry ginger is not going to give you the same effect of bringing out that heat, so that, just to be clear. Now, the other thing I'm going to put in here, who wants to guess what this is? What are these wonderful sticks that I'm holding in my hand here? Does anybody want to guess? All right. And so the answer is, it's astragalus. Astragalus is one of the most wonderful herbs that you want to incorporate to your diet right now, because it is, it brings out, it's highly antiviral, but it also brings out the immune system to fight off the lovely corona that we've got going around. So I'm putting about 2 sticks right in here, and it's got a wonderful taste. It's got like the sweetness to it. So it's not gonna add any weirdness to your broth, you know, it's just gonna add like this roundness, if you will. I'm also gonna be adding a little bit of thyme, and the reason why I'm doing thyme is because thyme is one of the things that I'm using quite a lot. It's gonna be like a very generous tablespoon right here. Why? Is because, well, as I like the taste of thyme. I learned it. To me, it's like a learned taste, but also because it is antihistamine, and it helps to bring the inflammation down in the body. So another really great reason. With this, you know, I'm using my small Instant Pot. So I have 2. I have one small one here. If you're on Instagram, you can probably see that's the size of my quart. That's length of my quart. Only allows me to bring it out here. So this is the smaller one, and then I have the big one over there. And to be honest with you, I use both of them all the time. It's kind of hard for me to recommend which one is better. It kind of depends on your family size and what you like to cook. But with this one, I'm not, now, you can add in a lot of other things if you're using a larger Instant Pot, such as carrots. You can add leeks in here. You can add sweet potato. You can add zucchinis in there. You know, I have a whole bunch of different recipes. If you have my cookbook, there are some different bone broths that are in here, including using beef or fish. There's a whole template for that. But I'm keeping it really simple because I'm using the smaller one, and I just don't want it to be too flavorful from other things. I just want it to be a basic bone broth. Now with this, I'm gonna be using 2 quarts of water, and that's gonna fill up to about the maximum rim, I think. There is a line inside your Instant Pot that shows you what's the maximum, and so that's exactly what it is, 2 quarts. Okay, and what I've been doing is, I'm curious for those of you who are very experienced Instagrammers, and I will tell you, I am not the most experienced Instant Potter. I'm not the most experienced. I've only had it for over a year. I use it a lot. You could, you know, if you look at my Instant Pot, it's kind of, you need some cleanup here. I use it so much. But it's, so tell me, how long do you like to cook it for? I have found that 2 hours is what works for me. And I need to turn it around. There we go. So I'm gonna put it on for 2 hours on high. And, you know, and I find this is really what gets the flavor out. It's just really, is gonna be really nice and thick. This is, it's, you know, when I don't have one in my fridge right now, but you know, when you take it out, you could see the gelatinous properties in it. So the gelatin has gotten into the bone broth. So I'm curious, how many hours do you guys like to do it for to really get the full properties of it? I've seen anything from people doing it for 30 minutes, and I tend to do it a little bit longer. So, you know, do you feel like you're getting the most out of the bone broth when you do it for 30 minutes only? Well, let me know. All right, well, I hope you get this ready. Don't throw away your bones. And that's gonna be your base for all the soups that you can be making. And quite frankly, sometimes, you know, at dinner, like I just don't feel like cooking, and I'll have a bone broth, and I'll add a little bit of apple cider vinegar and salt to it, and I just sip on that, and it's so rich. It feels like a meal by itself. I might add a little bit of kale maybe to it, or a bit of rice, just to, you know, make it a little bit of a fuller meal. But it feels like it's just, that on its own can be just a wonderful meal, and definitely a base for all your stews and all your soups. Instead of going and paying, you know, what, $6, $7, $12, $20, depending on the size of what brand you buy of bone broth, you can just make this easily yourself at home. Okay. let's see what questions we have, and then, so Taylor, let me know what questions we have coming in. Is there anything, Cheryl, that you saw that we had questions on coming up on?
I wanted to know the name of your book.
Okay, the book is called Cooking for Hormone Balance, and Taylor will pop up a link when you're on Facebook, Instagram, or so you can just go on Amazon and look for Cooking for Hormone Balance. Pretty straightforward title. So there's, oh, the other thing that I have in the book here that I forgot to mention, you can also, that's kind of timely right now, you can also add things like reishi mushrooms or chaga mushrooms that are, they contain something called polyglucanes, and those are the polysaccharides, but basically are hugely medicinal. That's what gives medicinal mushrooms their powers. So that's another way you can extract them, just by putting them into your bone broth. So this is like, those are example of recipes that's in my cookbook as well, using the medicinal mushrooms.
How long will it last in the fridge?
How long will it last in the fridge? Good question. So I would typically try to use it within the first 5 days, 1 week maximum. And if I'm traveling, if I'm obviously not now, but if I feel I cannot finish it within a week, I will put that in the freezer. Always make sure that if you put it in the freezer, use a mason jar, not like other recyclable jars, because they're gonna crack. And don't go all the way up to the rim. Just leave like an inch below the top of the mason jar, because liquid is gonna expand when it freezes. Oh yeah, so Flitz is saying add a tablespoon of vinegar while cooking. Yeah, that's a great idea. You could add some apple cider vinegar to this as well. I tend to use it afterwards. Oh, the other thing I want to maybe mention to you is using garlic. So remember, like if you watch my other videos, I've been talking about garlic and allicin, that's what the medicine is in garlic, is going to be killed after 6 minutes of cooking. So when you for sure, you're gonna kill all allicin if you're doing this with garlic in it. You can add it for flavor, but if you want a full benefit of garlic, then I would suggest to just crush it. And like once you finish cooking this, open it up, right? When you take the pressure off, you depressurize it, and then crush the garlic, put it in, and when it's crushed, right, and chopped up, and then put it back on and let it infuse into the broth for a few minutes. And this is gonna be awesome. The other thing, you can strain this first and then add the chopped garlic. That's what I do if I want garlic in it. Peggy on Instagram is saying, I get an autoimmune reaction to stew too long, possibly from glutaric acid. So I do meat broth. Okay, that's a great point. And it could be that also the longer we cook something, the more histamine it has. And so I'm curious, Peggy, if it's because you might be having a problem with histamine. And histamine, I'm going to invite somebody to talk to about a histamine in a week or two. But basically, you have a histamine problem when you're reacting to things like wine, cheese, anything that's aged and fermented, salami, something that's been sitting in a fridge for a few days, and you just don't feel very good, then you have a problem with histamine. So I think that's all we have for questions right now. Flitz is saying 8 to 12 hours on slow. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so that could be another, actually I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna do 8 hours on slow for this time around and see how different it tastes and whether the gelatinous properties are any different. Well, thank you for your advice. I call it the community wisdom. Everybody has some trick and wisdom to share, and this is really awesome. I hope you're gonna make this, because it's just so simple. It's gonna save you so much money, and it's such a backbone of healthy eating in the Hormones Balance community. All right, everybody, I will see you next time. Bye for now.